Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Saturday Morning Cartoons. And I have a really special guest who's going to start collaborating with us and join our team. His name is Ty Evans, and he's actually a real professional that has worked in Hollywood. He's a screenwriter. He knows what it's about. He has a intense background, and he is very talented. So we are going to see a lot of beautiful stuff coming out from him. I'm here to, as always, it's all a collaboration. He's going to help me realize my dream. I'm going to help him realize his dream. And together, with all the people that you've been seeing in every other episode, we're going to all do it together. So, enough about me. Let's talk about you.
Well, Ray, thank you, thank you. You're too kind, man. And I will say, your writing and reading what you've been posting has really inspired me lately. I'm
Well,
kind of
thank
just
you,
coming
Ty.
back from a little bit of a hiatus from society, from life. So as I'm kind of jumping back into it and trying to rebuild this, professional network that I would say it was a decently well cultivated professional network that I had. And then in 2019, unfortunately, I committed a crime, and was, during the onset of COVID, the whole court process and sentencing really kind of went left, and I ended up getting, quite a hefty sentence. So, I'm back now, and I'm just kind of trying to rebuild, pretty much from scratch.
Sure.
I'm in my 30s, and pushing 40, to be honest. And
Right?
yeah, and so it's challenging, just kind of trying to reconnect to some of those people. It's hard enough making connections and networking in the industry and in the entertainment industry. So when you do have some connections like that, to just kind of fall off for 5 years, and then you lose people's numbers, people change their platforms, etc. It makes it a little bit more challenging than it already was.
Yeah.
But LinkedIn, LinkedIn has really evolved. That's one thing. I'm coming out to all this new tech. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
blowing me away how much things, how quickly they progress. And as far as like a networking platform, I've just been really impressed with how LinkedIn has come along, and I've really enjoyed. Like, I just feel like it's a one-stop shop for professional networking. So, and creative, like on the creative side, being a platform to share your some of your creations. So I'm still kind of learning it. I've watched a couple of their very helpful videos as far as what makes a good profile, and I'm just kind of getting back into the swing of things, man.
Yeah, dude, I hear you. Yeah, LinkedIn has blown up. I was
Yeah,
like, well, I just, I kind of, I had it and I was off and on it, right, for a few years now, right, when it first started, and I didn't really utilize it, and all of a sudden,
same. Yeah,
yeah, I started writing articles on there, and wow, people started actually interacting with me, and I thought, holy crap. And then I'm starting to grow a lot more. So LinkedIn, I think, is a new Facebook. So I don't know, a
yeah,
lot of my,
yeah.
yeah, because a lot of my friends use Facebook still. I don't, but I think I might jump into it. I don't know. So you haven't used Facebook. You know what you should do, Ty?
Yeah.
Screw it, dude. Just create a new account, because
Well, and I
is
was
that hard to
I'm
do?
glad you brought it up, because so this was the situation. It's forgive me if it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to be brief.
No,
But like, so
tell us,
I've
brother.
had the same cell phone, same number since 2002 or three, like when I was in high. Remember the chirp phones, like the little
Do
Nextel
I? I
walkie
remember the
talkies?
pagers.
Yes. Okay, so that was the first phone I had, and so that was the Nextel. So a few years back, well, it's probably more than a decade now, Sprint acquired Nextel. Okay, so then I had a Sprint phone. Still same thing. I'm able to port all my contacts, everything. And then when Google, came out, I've always been an Android guy. Don't phone shame me. I'm Android. But
Me too.
when Google when Google kind of provided that where your Gmail account was linked to your phone, and then they came out with the Google Drive. I really was using that. So here I had all these numbers going back to like high school. So then while I was in prison, I think it's been a couple of years now, but T-Mobile actually acquired Sprint. So I got a new number, still had the old phone that, like physically had the old phone, but I was locked out of my Google account, and then Facebook. But here's where the interesting part is that so I get the new Z Fold 5, new cell phone number, same account, and it's like a grandfathered in. We have a really good account,
Nice.
since we've been technically members for a long time. But I get this new phone number. And the first time I attempt to log into Facebook from my phone with my new number, it logs me in as a gentleman named Damon. I won't say his last name, but not me. But I mean, I had everything. I had access to his whole account. I'm seeing pictures of his
Whoa.
kids. I see his
Whoa.
messaging, everything. So it was harder for me to even access because my old account was still there. People could pull up and see that I was still on there. Um, but to unlink it from that phone number was like impossible. So I'm on there
Wow.
with the chat with these, and I'm pretty sure it's an AI and not a very um good AI, but
Yeah.
they tell me I got to send a picture of me holding this security code, and for verification. This is Meta, right?
Whoa.
So
Whoa.
and as I'm going through that, I'm also dealing with T-Mobile and Google, which is their customer support, just doesn't exist. Like it's like they aren't going to talk to you. But
No,
my
they're
thought
not.
was like, well, maybe T-Mobile will have better luck. They're the big corporate, giant entity carrier, mobile carrier. So maybe they can communicate with someone at Google. And it just really came down to, I think that it's because it's so easy to make a Gmail that they're
Yeah.
just like, look, if you can't, you know, do two-step verification, then you're burnt. You just make a new Gmail. And that's all well and good, but we're talking about not only contacts going back to, like I said, to like high school that were saved in my Google, but the drive, as a writer and collaborator, I remember specifically quite a few projects that I was working on with other people that we were able to use Google Drive, similar to, I think, Canva is a
Yeah.
platform that's out now where it's like a kind of like a, you can jump in and it's collaborative and
Yeah.
shoot things back and forth. But I had screenplays, FDX files and
Oh,
scripts on there.
whoa.
Um,
Final
and
Draft Pro,
that's
right?
all gone. I'm
The
sorry.
Final Draft Pro, right?
I
The
was using Final Draft Pro before. I was able to get it paid for school, and then I just had that same account for the longest. But now, actually, since I've been out and I went to Fade In Pro,
oh,
which
it's pretty good.
if anybody's unfamiliar with screenwriting software, uh, from my experience, I think Final Draft Pro has a little bit more bells and whistles, but the bells and whistles are more for like production. So,
Mm.
when it comes time to have a shooting script, or when you get into your I think they call it like rainbow script, where you have all these different versions for each day that you're going to be shooting, or maybe sides for specific actors. Um, Final Draft Pro provides a lot of tools for that, for basically breaking the script up for future versions and shooting versions, whereas Fade In Pro is just more on the writing, like sit down, write the script, and
Yeah.
it's probably about $150 cheaper, Fade In Pro,
Oh,
than
that's way better.
yeah, than Final Draft. Final Draft's pushing 300, I think, and then I got Fade In
Ouch.
for like 90, 95, $96. So
Nice.
but it's far, it saves in FDX. So all your files can be opened and worked in Final Draft,
Oh,
which
nice.
is it's just the industry standard.
Yeah.
FDX is. Um, but yeah, and I just I've actually really enjoyed Fade In Pro, and I'm finding it to suit my needs perfectly. So
Nice.
yeah, that's yeah, yeah.
Hi, there's so much I wanted to ask you, but
Yeah,
but
no, please.
but so you have created. You told me something really cool, dude, and that when you were doing your thing, or what happened to you, you did
When I
it.
was sitting in prison,
I
sitting on
hate
the
to
yard.
I hate to say that, Ty, because you know, it feels like I don't believe in that system for one thing. I think
At mass
people, yeah,
incarceration.
mass incarceration. And if you guys had belong to Lincoln, read Ty's article, his last article he wrote yesterday, or yeah, yesterday, right? I think he wrote it
Yep,
yesterday.
yep,
Oh my
yep, yep.
God! And his reference to Mick, what was it, Mick Law or Mick?
McJustice.
McJustice.
McJustice. Yep.
Oh my God. And the injustice. And when I told Ty, I was like, dude, injustice, bro. You were treated like he was like, dude, it's not about me, man. It's about what was happening there. And I thought, dude, this guy's a beautiful person. He still doesn't, he's still like, it's not about me, even though he's gone through what he's gone. But anyway, he told me that when we first originally when we started talking, he said, bro, I've written consistently. I have all these stories there. I've done all these different works, but I did them with what I had, and all he had was a pencil and paper. What the heck? What dude? What is what? And I don't want to get on my soapbox, but we all sit around saying we got great stories. I'm a great writer. We got great stories. I'm a great writer. I can make blah blah blah, but yet you don't do it. And you have all these access to your phone even does it now. You can do anything, and
Yeah.
and Ty had no access. And what did he say? He didn't sit and say, well, F it. I'm just gonna blah blah blah. He grabbed a pencil and paper, and he wrote these stories. And these stories, I can't wait to read them, brother, because I
Yeah.
bet you anything, dude, because I bet you anything, these stories are so intense because the turmoil that I'm sure he was going in there is reflected through his stories, what he saw as a reporter of life. Is because I believe all writers are reporters of
Yeah.
life.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, bro. We
Yep.
observe in a different way than other people observe. We see everything. We see everything. So what he saw, he brought on paper, but he brought them in other stories. So Ty, I wanted to talk a little bit about that, bro,
Sure.
about how your motivation you decided to write, and then later about the different stories and maybe your the one that you're going to start working on now because
Sure.
we're going to see this guy effing blossom. He's going to show our story his stories, and he's going to also create a. We go to Medium now, and it's not that we belong to the company and we're not trying to, but we're going to use Medium for also Ty to also showcase his work. Um, one of many various platforms because there's tons. But anyway, so yeah, so Ty, if you don't mind, bro, let's talk
No,
about that.
yeah. So, I'll start off with this quote. My younger sister actually graduated from high school. That's kind of one of the things when you're in prison, there's milestones in people's lives, and I'm blessed. COVID passed. People in my family, it was stressful in there during the time period that I was actually down from 2019 to 2024 really kind of turned out to be sort of, I feel like a pretty pivotal time period in, American history, I guess you
I
could say.
agree.
There was an election, George Floyd, a lot of things that I was just kind of in there. You mentioned being an observer of life. That's really what I was doing is, I'm in there trying to stay connected however I can. But I was saying my sister graduated and I gave her this quote. I said, keep dreaming, because there's going to come times in your life, where it's hard to sustain that dream. But it's in those dark times that the dream can be the thing that sustains you,
Beautiful.
and so that's really where my writing, um, yeah, my environment, whatever, it's prison BS. It's a lot of, politics and, just stuff that I didn't really, know about, but you learn. It's going on, but I was always able to escape to these stories. And so a lot of them I had actually conceived of, conceptualized, or had been thinking about. Like you mentioned, you say, we all have these stories, but it's really hard to sit down and, or at least for me, like when I was working in LA, when I was in Hollywood, when I was working as a production assistant, I'm booking gigs. I'm a bartender, so it's all about staying busy and networking and meeting people and just keeping busy, right? Um, I didn't have a lot of time to sit down and
That's true. Yeah.
write a screenplay, 120 page, feature length screenplay from beginning to end. As bad as that sounds, like it sounds bad, I feel like, but prison, I mean, it really was. It was a time for me. It provided me with the time to just sit down and finish these stories. I told him if it takes me a year, I'm going to finish this feature series that I had been thinking about since 2012. So that's kind of where I started, and it was a little like you mentioned that what I had available, writing tablets and a pen. I'm burning through them. I'm writing so much, I'm getting a callus. I can't, like trading noodles to get people's tablets, because I like the kind with no margins, because I try to write in like industry standard format. So, the dialogue is blocked, and then you have the narrative and scene headings and transitions and everything. So I was trying to write them like as a script,
Wow.
because I'm a visual person. So that's, I see life in movies, and that's just really, how I do. So yeah, I'm going through tablets so quick, that I couldn't order them on commissary fast enough. So, sometimes I would have to go around like, hey man, let me give you this, let me give you these ramens, or let me give you a couple shots of coffee for some, for some tablets. um
Bro,
but yeah, yeah,
can I ask you something real quick?
sure, yeah,
How did
absolutely.
they react? The people around you, did they were they like, whoa, he's a writer? Whoa, that's cool, man. Or let me read it.
Yeah, I think at first when you introduce somebody, or or when you introduce yourself, you say, "Oh, I'm a writer." It's like I always say, like, you might as well tell them, "Yeah, I'm building a rocket ship in my backyard. I'm gonna fly it to the moon." People kind of look at you like, yeah, well, whatever. But no, they do, like I said, each day to day in there, everybody kind of has their we refer to it as program. It's kind of, everybody has their own program. For the most part, you kind of try to give the other man, space to just do him. You're in these close confines a lot of the times. You got a neighbor right there, or you might be in a cell with another guy. So you just kind of got to learn, to give people their space to kind of, just exist as they exist. Obviously, if you get somebody that has some, mental health issues and like talks to themselves or something like that, then maybe it's like, well, we got to do something here. But for the most part, you go into your zone. So my program definitely was writing. So those few guys who thought I was building a rocket ship, they would come by my house, my little housing unit, my cubicle, and they'd see, that yeah, I'm writing, I got stacks, like this. So a lot of people caught on, and I actually found a couple of really good readers. I feel like, to I mean, that's, you're in prison, you can buy little TVs. So most people have their little TV, but when new guys come in, or not everybody can afford to have their own little personal TV, and they, you got to, we call it a babysitter, because it's basically there helping you do your time. You'd think like the facility, the personnel at the facility, kind of would like inmates to each have their TV, because it keeps them busy. They're not, starting riots and making hooch and stuff like that if they're just watching TV. So, but yeah, there's, so I mean, obviously there's a library, and I actually did work in the library for a couple of years, but so guys read. that's the point I'm getting across. You know, you see a lot of readers, you know, you catch on. And so as I'm writing, you know, I was writing some fantasy and some sci-fi. So if I saw somebody reading fantasy, like I read Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time series. I don't know if you're familiar. It's
I'm
like
not, but
12
I'm gonna read
books.
it.
Yeah, it's really good. So but it's 12 books, so that takes some dedication to read. So if I ever saw a guy and he's on like book 7 or 8 of the Wheel of Time or something, I'm like, hey, I got something, you know, you might like, you know, check this out. You know, it's handwritten, you know, bear with me. And I had one buddy, you know, Snow was what he was known by. He's still in there, but he'll get out later this year. And he big movie buff, big. You know, we could sit there and just chop it back and forth. We knew the names of, you know, actors in what movie, and you know, just movie buff, fellow movie guy. And he was a fantasy reader. So like it got, for example, it got to the point where, you know, I was working on the series, The Mages of Aya, the one that I told you about that I'm kind of working on. And I'm writing that episodically, and just writing the whole first season. So he's reading them, you know, he reads the pilot first and then like episode 2 and 3. And it got
Wow.
to where he's like waking me up in the morning, like, bro, you need to finish this next episode because I got to know what happens. Like like I'm over here tripping. Like what is like
Wow.
what like so I actually did get quite a bit of good feedback, and then I think it helped that I wrote it in the screenplay format, because you know you hand somebody, you know, a notebook like this, you know, they're just kind of like, what are you reading, somebody's journal? I think somebody said that one time. But when
Oh,
you put it in like a format and you tell them, no, it's a screenplay, it's not a novel, it's not meant to be a novel. And I mean, I don't know if your viewers, or if you know read a lot of screenplays, but they're pretty quick reads, you know,
yeah,
like
they are. Yeah.
they're engaging. And you know, the best compliment that I feel that I ever could get was you know, it I can see it, you know. They're like, I could it's like I could see it. It's like I was watching it. I'm like, perfect. That's exactly what it's meant to
Wow.
do, you know.
Yeah.
Um but
Wow.
yeah, as far as the projects too, I wanted to talk about this is I got a piece of advice when I was in LA, you know, probably, you know, 2013, 2014 maybe. And I'm kind of trying to do things as a writer. I had collaborated with some buddies. We had a guy in New York that we Skyped, and then this actor, Screen Actors Guild actor that I was working with in LA, that we're trying to do something original on spec. Um, and so they had the story, you know, they kind of pitched the idea. And I think they had like maybe like the first 4 or 5 minutes of a script, and they gave it to me, and he had kind of explained where they wanted to go. And then like the next day I handed them back like the first and second act, like 60 some odd pages or something. So like they went from
Wow.
5 minutes to like an hour into the movie, and they loved it. Both of them were like, wow,
Wow.
you know. Um, so that's when I kind of started really to try to write my own stuff on spec. And this piece of advice I got was like, look, you're not that you're not talented, like you could be very talented, but you're an unknown, you know, as far as when it comes time to pitch. And as an unknown writer, you know, it might make more sense to write things that could be produced for cheaper. Like basically, like
Hmm.
don't, if your first project that you're going to write on spec and then go and try to pitch to a studio or a producer is like a $200 million sci-fi blockbuster, you know, they're less likely to take that chance if you're an unknown. You know, James Cameron has a lot better chance of getting something like that greenlit, that, or you know, or Quentin Tarantino, than just, you know, random. So they told me to kind of, you know, to maybe start with like an indie, something more intimate or whatever, smaller. Well, I internalized that. Like that was something that I really thought about, because I was writing a lot. You know, I'm gonna write the next Star Wars. You know, like
Nice, nice.
um, so I did you know, I had all this time ahead of me. So we go when I'm in prison now, and I got these projects. A lot of them, like I said, I had already been thinking about. um but I decided I was gonna create the narrative and the story with the distribution method that I wanted in mind.
Wow.
And I think that that's kind of key because media and film and TV is kind of going through like a renaissance. It's evolving like fast, just like tech, just like AI,
Yeah.
with the streamers. And I was in film school during the digital transition. You remember that in
Same
2010?
here. Yep.
Yeah, when
Yep.
they switched everything over to digital, so half of my film education, we were doing things like with 35 millimeter film and like on film, and then all of a sudden it just switched over and it was
Yeah.
all
It was like,
digital. Yeah. So so distribution is key nowadays because there's just so many different platforms, and like I would recommend to any writer, rather than just say, well, I'm just going to write this feature. And if Netflix, Netflix, Hulu, I'll just pitch it to all the streamers and, potentially one of them will get it. Like, that's great, like that. Get the story down, first of all, for sure. I mean, write the story. But I think that if you can kind of already have in mind where you want to go with it when it's complete, just in terms of like what other type of movies or shows have they put out, or are they similar, the genre, and so that was when I started this 5 years of writing. I had that in mind. I'm like, okay, boom, I'm gonna do my feature length blockbuster sci-fi. And I'm very adamant that it is going to be like it's going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Like, yeah, it's a
nice.
trilogy, but then that's it. That's it. In this age of IP, all the spin-offs, and let's do a streaming series for it now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been offered some obscene amount of money for spin-offs and stuff like that. But I'm like, from my perspective, I am going old school with it. Get your popcorn, bring your kids, go see the film in the theater. It's going to be big, IMAX, all
Nice.
that. And then when it's done, it's done. That, maybe we can do a prequel or, something someday down the line. But like, that wasn't my intent writing it. My intent was to tell a saga similar to like George Lucas in Star Wars, like this
Wow.
story.
Bro,
So that was one.
can you tell us just a little bit about the story? Yeah, I'm psyched, dude.
Sure.
I'm psyched because we've been
Well,
talking about this.
remember when I told you one of our first communications, I was like, I love the stuff you're writing about tech because it kind of gives me an idea, it allows me to visualize some of the tech from this sci-fi series. So
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank
yeah,
you.
it's the one that I actually envisioned. Like, I started thinking about this back in like 2012, and I don't know if everybody remembers that like the world was going to end in 2012. Okay,
Yeah,
like it,
yeah.
it was the Mayan calendar and all that, right?
It's always
And
ending. Yes.
yeah, so and I'll admit it, I chased the rabbit hole a little bit. I won't say that I was fully convinced that on December 21st that was it, but put it this way, I was in Lake Tahoe, just chilling. Like, if this is the end, then that's what it is. But
Yeah.
around that time, I started thinking, I'm like, okay, well, what if the world didn't, end? What if it just signaled just a huge paradigm shift? What could be something that changed humanity's entire perspective? And I was just like, first contact. If all of a sudden it was evident to every human being existing on earth that not only were there extraterrestrials, but there's like a whole council of them out there living in this intelligent, this group of sentient species. If they came down and said, look, you guys are ready, or we think you're ready, so we're gonna clue you in, and
Wow.
kind of bring you. I just feel like, would that eliminate things like nations, borders, racism? Because now all of a sudden, we're not brown and white and black and whatever else. We're humans and they're not.
Wow. I love
So
that.
that's kind of the I guess the main premise of the series, which is called, I called it Prophecy AR. The Age of Reason is the
Oh, I
first one.
love it. I love
So that's
it.
what, you have like BC, AD. Well, then we would shift to AR in my series, and it's this,
Genius, bro.
post
Genius.
first contact society. So
And
I
that's really
envision.
that's super important right now. It's like really this is what's happening now. And I think I think you're gonna ride the right way, brother. This is your time, man. This is super exciting.
I really try to stay looped in, and it actually. So this is the first.
Oh,
So that
oh,
series. Yeah, go
hold
ahead.
on tight. So we have less than a minute.
Yeah, okay.
I don't want to go. So we're gonna do a part two right now. And
Okay.
so let me send you a link and we'll see you in a second. Is that okay?
No, yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so I'm gonna send you
Um,
a link. Yes.
yeah. I was just gonna say, like, give me 5 to
Okay,
come
you
back.
got it. You got it, bro.
Okay, cool,
Okay, I'll see you
cool.
in 5.
All right,
All
perfect.
right, brother. Okay, bye bye.
Bye.